Hello, and welcome to our first D&D 3.5 Prestige class review. In this series, I'm going to be going over the various aspects of a particular D&D 3.5 Prestige class, and evaluating the class on its concept and execution. I'll also give some ideas for how I would improve the Prestige class. I do assume you will have fairly in-depth knowledge of the D&D 3.5 rules for the purposes of this review, and as with any review, in the end this all boils down to my personal opinion. So today we're going to be looking at the Tempest. This is a Prestige class from the Complete Adventure resource book, which is mostly focused on skill-based classes like the Rogue and Bard. So it's a little bit off-brand to see a combat-focused Prestige class, but there are still quite a few of them in the book. I chose to do the Tempest first because I've actually played this Prestige class, and I believe it was the first ever Prestige class I took a level in as a player character, as opposed to NPCs I made as a Dungeon Master. Tempest is described as a whirling barrier of deadly blades. This is a two-weapon fighting focused Prestige class, and it's one that really attempts to exemplify the fighting style. Now, qualifying for this Prestige class isn't going to be the easiest thing. You're going to need 5 feats and a +6 base attack bonus. You're going to need spring attack, dodge, mobility, two-weapon fighting, and improved two-weapon fighting. Now, only those two-weapon fighting feats are actually relevant to the Prestige class's stated archetype. The other 3 don't really come into play until you reach your 5th level in the class and gain access to the two-weapon spring attack class feature. One of the few upsides to this Prestige class is that it is relatively short, at only 5 levels. This is sort of a downside, because 2 best features of the class don't get much time to grow because of this, but one of them really can't grow past a certain point, and well, the other one could if it were able to continue past 5 levels. Class skills for the Tempest include the acrobatic skills, alongside sleight of hand and craft. Nothing here is really going to improve the class's function in combat aside from tumble, which as a fighter you likely won't have ranks in as is. So as for class features, at each odd-numbered level of the Tempest Prestige class, you're going to get a +1 untyped bonus to armor class while wielding 2 weapons. Now you only get this bonus while wearing light armor, which really right away puts a damper on this class ability. It makes sense thematically, but two-weapon fighting is already at such a disadvantage with inherently not being able to use a shield, and by this limitation not being able to use heavier armor. You're really losing out on armor class overall, so this is really compensating just for the restriction this Prestige class imposes on you. This makes this class seem a little bit more geared to a rogue or other lightly armored character for being so feat intensive, though it really blocks itself off from being attractive to the rogue class. So perhaps the most archetypal feature of this Prestige class is Ambidexterity, which reduces your two-weapon fighting penalties even further than the two-weapon fighting feat already does. If you're wielding a light weapon in your offhand, it will actually reduce those penalties to nothing, meaning you'll be just as good fighting with 2 weapons as you would be with 1. This feature is quite nice for some added accuracy. Again, this seems to make more sense for a rogue, who will often use 2-weapon fighting for sneak attack purposes to get in more sneak attack damage, and for whom accuracy can still be a concern given that the rogue has a 3/4 level base attack bonus. But again, rogues are going to have a very difficult time getting into this Prestige class. A human rogue could qualify for it by level 9, but such a rogue would not even be able to get weapon finesse if they were to do so. Maybe with 2 levels of fighter thrown in there to replace a couple of the rogue levels, it could be accessed earlier, but then you're giving up even more sneak attack. At 3rd level you get 2-weapon versatility. This is going to allow you to apply weapon focus and similar feats to both weapons you're wielding, so long as you have the feat for one of those weapons. So you could wield a longsword and battle axe, and so long as you had weapon focus longsword, you would get +1 to attacks with the battle axe as well. This could be helpful to enable some of the combat style feats from Complete Warrior, which often require you to wield 2 different specific weapons for some kind of benefit, such as an added disarm attempt in the case of 1. Unfortunately, a lot of these feats require you to actually have weapon focus for both weapons to take those combat style feats. And the wording of 2-weapon versatility specifies that you can apply the effects of the feat to both weapons, not necessarily that you actually have both of them for the purposes of taking other feats. I could be incorrect here, but it looks like it's not going to work for you for that. So at level 5 you get the final ability, which is 2-weapon spring attack. This ability is very situational and it feels oddly jarring compared to the others, which are quite simple and generic two-weapon fighting benefits. It could be useful, but spring attack is widely considered to be a bad option in most cases in combat, and the fact that you need to invest 3 feats to get it really drags down this capstone ability. So when evaluating prestige classes, I think it's a really good idea to take a look at what levels you could have taken in the class you already had and see what you missed out on. So for this, let's say you could have taken 5 levels of fighter, giving you 2 or 3 bonus feats. With one of these you could have potentially taken the bounding assault feat from the player's handbook too, which would allow you a second attack during a spring attack move. And I believe it would also allow you to break it up between 2 different targets, which I do not believe that this one allows you to do. And then you could have also taken 2 other feats, and you also would not be restricted to light armor. So, is this prestige class worth it to take? Well, if you're already restricted to light armor, then perhaps it would be. My ranger character already wanted to use light armor, so I saw this as a attractive prestige class option. But overall, I have to give this prestige class 5 stars for concept, for being a simple and generic concept, but a flexible one. The book even lists a few different potential types of character that could be in this prestige class. Tribal human warrior wielding a battle axe and a kukuri. Elven warriors that wield 2 short swords. Or the example dwarf character given who wields a dwarven war axe and hand axe. In execution, though, I have to give this only 2 stars. It's so heavily built around a particular combat maneuver that it's really only worth taking for the Ambidexterity and 2-weapon Versatility features, as well as the Tempest defense. And again, the Tempest defense really only manages to compensate for the light armor requirement that the class has. I really like lightly armored characters personally, but they're at a severe disadvantage in D&D 3.5 outside of a few particular builds. So to impose such a restriction would have required a larger dodge bonus or other sort of bonus to armor class to compensate for it. Heavy armor is just simply better in many cases, especially when you have access to special materials like mithril and the charge maneuver, which can help compensate for the reduced movement speed you have from them. So how would I fix this class? Well, the first thing I would do is I would remove the dodge, mobility, and spring attack requirements. I would consider replacing that capstone 2-weapon spring attack ability with something akin to whirlwind attack as a bonus feat, something else more evocative of a Tempest in battle. I would maybe replace that feat tree as a prerequisite with 2-weapon defense. That kind of plays into the prestige class's concept, and it would make sure that the prestige class still requires 3 feats, which is a decent amount of investment. Alternatively, giving this class something akin to rapid shot for melee attacks, something similar to what the dervish has in Complete Warrior. It has the ability to, for a full attack, while in your dervish dance, you get double the number of attacks. That's something that I could see working well here. It could impose an additional -2 penalty similar to the rapid shot feat does for ranged attacks. This might be too strong of an ability, but frankly I doubt it, and if you're going to be investing 5 levels into this prestige class that otherwise doesn't give you very much, I think that would be more than fair. So, overall this is a class that's great in concept, but weak in execution, and it's far too focused on a particular maneuver that really doesn't have much actual utility in combat. So, that's about it for this prestige class review. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, etc., and I will see you next time.